my name is Torsten. Welcome to another video. So today I'm going to talk about charging an electric vehicle at home. Now this is something that a lot of people ask me about and are interested in that don't know anything about electric vehicles. So I'm going to tell you about my experiences and some experiences of friends and things that are starting to show up in general with infrastructure and so on. So I had a Nissan Leaf for 2 years. I would charge at home. I just used a normal wall plug-in. I only rent, so I haven't been in places where I could necessarily do anything else, and the possibility of putting in a different plug like a NEMA 1450, which is generally what people use for charging electric vehicles. Also, you can do, I believe, off the 1030, which is a normal dryer plug. You can definitely use adapters and go off of one of those. There's also some really cool things with that. They're called dryer buddies. So you can actually, if you have a dryer that's close, you can use this dryer buddy plug, and what it does, you plug your car charger into that, and it actually, if the dryer's on, it won't charge your car, and then when it has power, it'll charge your car. So you won't have a problem with blowing a fuse if you're using your dryer. So that's super cool. So there's tons of little things like that. We just used the wall plug-in, which worked. Charging to full, I'll talk about that in a different video, but we charge ours to full because we required the range. Our stated range, an EPA range is what it's called, was for our car 335 kilometers, which is another thing. Actual range, realistically, I'm a little bit a heavy foot driver, get maybe 100 kilometers in the wintertime. And if I was light in the summertime, I could get up to 150 out of a full charge. So that's the stated range. Also in the wintertime, mainly your range is used up for heating the car. That's the biggest thing. And then also if there's rain or wind, roll resistance, that also makes a bit of a difference as well. So the other thing is, so that worked for us. We'd plug it in every single time the car was parked. It would take a good 12 hours or so to charge it from empty to full, pretty much. Didn't drive it enough, didn't commute anywhere, so that worked for us. And if you had a bigger battery, it would probably work for most people if they didn't do tons of driving. Now, I have a friend who also had a Nissan Leaf, but he drives a lot. And he tried doing what we were doing, and it just didn't work for him. And so he ended up installing a NEMA 1450 and got a charger. And so that's a level 2 charger. So he could charge from empty to full, same car, in about 4 hours-ish. Maybe a little bit more, but around 4 hours. Whereas ours would take 12. So you can see the difference. And so for him, it was super convenient. So he would do a lot of driving, and he would use his full range in a day. And that's another thing that I'd like to talk about at some point too. So he'd use the full range for the day, and he would come home, and often what he'd do, sometimes he'd be home for lunch and just charge for an hour or so, maybe an hour and a half or less. And it was just enough to get more range. And it's really cool because you essentially take a car that has a smaller battery and you give it more range. Same thing, he would come home in the evening, he would plug in his car. You always plug in your car, especially with a shorter range one. Always want to be charging it whenever you can be. He would plug it in, he'd have dinner, and then after dinner, if he'd want to go somewhere or whatever, he'd have no problems doing that. And so it really extended the range of his car. So it really helped him a lot. And I know a lot of people, my brother actually, he has a Nissan Leaf as well, and he was just plugging into the wall, normal wall plug, and he had actually a designated NEMA 1450 already, and he ended up using that. It was more because the circuit in his garage wasn't working so well. It's not that he needed to have the quick charging. Now, the other thing about charging at home depends a lot on the range of your car and how much you drive. And this is really key. This is actually part of the conversation. It's something that people don't really realize. If you drive a lot, you probably will require a level 2 charger and charge your car at level 2, because you just need, you need that more. And the level trickle charging doesn't just give you enough overnight for most people, especially if you're commuting like a good, say 40 or 50 kilometers each way. Then yeah, you definitely want to have a level 2 charger for sure, no question about it. But if you're not doing a lot of commuting, you might get away with just the standard wall plug. The other thing I wanted to touch on too is charging at home, and also the range of your car. Now, most electric cars in the market now, they have a minimum range of about 100 kilometers. There aren't many cars on the market that have less than 100 kilometer range. Now, if you're just having it as a second car, that's usually going to be plenty. I found in a bigger city like Vancouver, if you're driving around a lot, for instance, I'm going to the airport and then I've got to go somewhere else or something like that, I can't do that all in one charge. I have to charge somewhere along the way with our Nissan Leaf. Now, if I had a car with a little bit more range, and there's a few out there that have more range, more around the 170 kilometer to 200 stated EPA range, that would never be an issue. I would pretty much be able to drive wherever I wanted all day and never worry about charging except at home. And that's the beauty of having a little bit more range. It just gives you that comfort and that buffer. And so charging is becomes less of a concern. In fact, probably all you'll ever do is charge at home. Now the question is, well, what if I can't charge at home? Well, usually you can do at least a trickle charge, usually. The places that don't work are sometimes apartments, and I get that. And so then you're looking at doing, a fast charging somewhere, and I'd highly recommend getting a car that has at least a fast charger, a quick charger option, like the Nissan Leaf has a DC fast charger with not all their older models. All the new ones, as far as I know, do. Pretty much all the new ones do. It's just some of the older ones don't. So if you're looking for a used car, that would be something I would highly recommend. I don't think I would even look at a car now without having fast charging capabilities. That can make a huge difference. Even if you just need to top up, like you just need to get an extra few percentage, you fast charge it, like for our Leaf, you can do like 15 minutes and get like 40% charged, and that's all you need usually to get home or wherever you're going to, especially if you're just driving around the city. Now the other thing is, if you live in a smaller city, it's way less important. I'll give you an example. My brother, he lives in Nanaimo, much smaller city. He's not driving any long distances. He can, anywhere he wants to drive to is 10 minutes. And so if you live in a smaller place and the distances are less, the range is less important, especially for a daily run around car. And they're cheap to run. And so he ended up buying a used Leaf, and he never has a problem with running out of charge in that way. And so that's really cool. Like if you have two cars especially, you should for sure have one that's electric, and I would say both of them, really, with all the new ones coming out in the range. So I hope that gives you some insight and some information. Thank you so much for watching. Like and subscribe, please, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.